And we are live. Hello, everyone. I am here with Amy Wierzbicki. And I saw Amy on the Facebook group wanting some input on her social type. So I thought I'd bring her on, run her through the usual racket, the usual questions, and see what people think and kind of process it out with her, tell her what I see for her as well. She's also a Shani type twin, which gives us a good point of reference to see if there are any similarities or differences between them and the nuances. So, Amy, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, kind of where you work, and where you're going.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Um, let's see. So I grew up in Bangladesh. I found out that that's where Habib was from, too.
Oh, really? Wow.
My parents were missionaries, four siblings. I was moved around a lot growing up. Um, let's see. And this is where I'm not sure how much to share, like what is pertinent. Um, I don't know. Should I share about education, like growing up, or?
Yeah, if you feel like it, if you want to talk about family or what your family was like or education, either of those are great, you know.
Let's see. So school was good. I don't know. Like I was homeschooled. I liked school. I think I tried. I think I
Hmm.
applied myself. Um, I was kind of disorganized though, and I don't know. I might have had ADHD. I'm not sure, and that's not really applicable. But um,
Oh, same. I got put in a special education group because
mhm.
learning disability.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like my brother, older in life, he got diagnosed with it. So I'm still kind of wondering. Because I was always really bad with like whenever there was a due date on something, I would tend to leave it to the last second and have to do all nighters trying to catch up.
Oh, yeah.
Um, let's see. Oh, and also I had extremely low self esteem growing up. Um, I I think it was because we moved around so much. Um, I didn't. I got in my head that nobody around me wanted me around or liked me or that I had a place. Um, and I still puzzle over why I was so impacted, but my siblings weren't. My siblings were they seemed to adjust really well to moving around a lot and being the one that was new all the time and being the um like the alien in another country where you're like you look weird and everybody's just staring at you all the time.
Hmm.
um Yeah, so I had extremely low self esteem and depression too. And I was very, very quiet. I just pulled away because of that. Around the age of 12, I basically withdrew from everybody. Um, and I just kind of did my own thing. I would um, work on different skills or like just do things that I enjoyed doing. I was like, I could entertain myself, but I was also really sad and like I was not happy because I really wanted to feel I needed friends and I didn't feel like I had any. And it was nothing to do with me. It was really just I was shy, I think. And I took other people's lack of attention on me as me not being worthy of attention, like they didn't care about me. So um and that was very, very slow. Like that kind of continued through high school. We moved back to Canada when I was 15. So then I stopped moving around and I was kind of in a stable place until end of high school. Um, and I don't know. It was still really, really bad. Um, let's see. I When it came time to go to college, I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
I had a few different things I was told that I could do that I would be good at or enjoy, but I couldn't decide. And then at the last second, I jumped at something, music college. I was just like, okay, well, I know I'm good at this, so I'll do that. Um, but but when I got there, I found it really, really hard. Like, because I had no self esteem, but I had to get up in front of people and perform, and I had to be okay with like practicing when other people could hear me and sounding bad, and so and I really struggled with balancing school and friends, like because I wanted so badly to connect, but I also needed to work on my classes. And like I've heard a lot of people really struggle their first year of college. They don't realize how hard it is to balance everything and work things take. I
Yeah.
had no idea. I just couldn't manage my time. I should have just focused on my school, but I was trying to make friends too, but I didn't know how to make friends. So I was like spending too much time, wasting time basically trying to connect, and then like leaving my school when I shouldn't be. I would often like get invitations like, do you want to go to the movies or something? And I would leave my work, which I should have been focused on, to go hang out. And then yeah, it was not good. So then I did a year of that, and I decided, okay, I'm going to work for a year and I'm going to see if I can figure it out. So I just worked in a grocery store, and at the end of that year, I decided, at the last second again, like, I don't want to work anymore. I'm going to do chef training. So I jumped into that, and that was good. But then I realized while I was doing it that I was not passionate about it like everybody else. I was just doing it as like, sort of like just something that it would pay the bills sort of thing. Like I just thought, oh, well, I could do this, but the passion was not there. Um, so I finished that year, and and then I figured, well, maybe baking is my thing. So I decided to work at a bakery and do an apprenticeship, and then I could earn money while I was doing the apprenticeship. But then I found out that I had to get up at 4 a.m., and that was not pleasant. And I was not okay with that. So I just kind of like, um, the word where you just kind of like, I kind of like lost motivation and just sort of drifted. And at the time, I was dating my soon to be husband. Actually, I
Mhm.
married him right before I started working at the bakery. And so I think in my mind, I kind of thought, well, if now that I'm married, I don't have to have a career. Like I can relax now. I can take my time and figure out what I want to do. Um, so I continued to work at the bakery, and um, and I couldn't not work because things are expensive, and he didn't have that great of a job. Um, and then I got pregnant, and um, it was a welcome like relief from trying to figure out what I wanted to do and from having to work. So it's like, yay, this is awesome, but also terrified because I never wanted to be a mom. I never planned on being a mom. Um, and then I don't know how much detail to share, but I really struggled while I was while I was pregnant and working. And I think my husband, I think he's specialized anyway, and I think
Mhm.
he he really, as soon as I got married, I realized that he only sees what he has to do, and he doesn't see um, anything about anything outside of that little tiny little box. And um, I I started feeling really taken advantage of. And even when I was pregnant and I was working and I was sore and like not feeling good and everything, I still was doing everything in the house. I was doing all the housework, and I was really frustrated that we it felt like we had equal, like we worked the same amount of hours, but it was like a mix of like feeling like taken advantage of and also feeling like he didn't love me anymore. And I didn't know how to communicate my needs or anything because I had no self-esteem and just didn't think I deserved better. So, but then I don't know, that's kind of been the story of our relationship too, has been like feeling like he's an EP, he's a consume sleep EP as well. Feeling like I was very aware for many, many years of the imbalance of feeling like I have to do everything and he's not doing anything, and getting really mad at him, but not actually not saying what I need and asking him to do stuff. So this is something that over the last half a year, I feel like things have gotten a lot better. Actually communicating and delegating and asking him to do stuff. Okay, let's see. And then
Wait, you feel like that's been like that was a difficult process to go through?
Extremely, yeah. Like always just feeling exhausted all the time and like resentful, and even I don't even know if I actually was doing more. I just felt like I was doing more. Like maybe I didn't see the big picture, you know? Like of everything that he was doing, maybe I wasn't aware of, like, I don't know. It's hard. But I never got an outside perspective on it.
Well, it's hard. I don't want to give my opinion on someone I've never met, but it just sounds like how would I put it? What it sounds like to me is uncomfortable. You wanted a role and you didn't get it. You wanted a role and you didn't get that role in the relationship, and then felt extremely stressed from having to fill that void.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was fair. I didn't want to be working all the time. I didn't want to just never have time to do what I wanted to do, is what it felt like. Yeah. And it's still hard because now I have kids. Struggle. And then in that year when I was working, he decided to go back to school as well. So, and at the time I was thinking that I wanted to do social work. So I was going to go into that, but then I thought I let him go first. Basically, it was like, one of us had to go first. So, actually that was more of a year before I got pregnant, the year before, because I wasn't, let's see. But then things didn't pan out with that. So he got a job out west, and this was with his new interest. He's always been somebody who has, like, for a little while he's really passionate into something, then he changes it and wants to do something else. And I didn't expect that going in. I thought he'd just like stick with something. But I mean, I was the same. I was like, I couldn't land on anything. I just kept picking something else and not being happy with it and going to something else. So let's see. Yeah, so he moved out west, and I was just stay-at-home mom for a little while. And I still felt like I was doing everything. I was still angry at him, but otherwise I was like really happy with the role I was playing. Like I felt like it was just really fun. It was really nice. Like motherhood is busy, but it just has a nice pace to it. Like,
and you're surrounded by the people you basically love the most. You know, I think that's always sounds like the biggest benefit is like I have to go deal with people I hate. I have to go out in the cold hard world, and you're gonna be around with people who you're just like, I love you more than anything. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah. Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you've like it's been what it sounds like is there's been frustration over someone having to take up the responsibility role, and then kind of both of you are kind of moving from thing to thing. Can I ask you like what it is that he does or what it is he has worked in? Some of the things he's worked in?
So when we met, he was in graphic design. Then he wanted to do pastoring. So
Mastering? Oh, priest, like a priest thing.
yeah,
Okay.
except different. And then actually he went back to graphic design after that, and like he's an artist, so he does that as well. And he had to pick up jobs just to try and fill the void, like because that doesn't pay that great. Like he worked in a warehouse for a little while as well when he couldn't get art jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's freelance now, so that doesn't pay the bills totally either, so he had to pick up just a manual labor job as well to do, just kind of to fill in the extra. And I've been working in a long-term care home as well, cooking. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Okay. Do you want to get into the questions now? Would you be comfortable with that?
Yep.
Okay. So, Amy, if you could be, what would you want to be famous for?
Okay. Now I'm going to try and be as honest as possible with these questions.
Yes.
I feel like there's surface answers, but then if I think deeper, like, so my surface answer was that I don't care about being famous. I just don't. I don't know. It's just not one of my goals. But I think if I were to be famous, I mean, as a general rule, like I'd like to be. I'd like for it to be something that I really enjoy doing. I mean, I think it'd be nice to like come up with something really amazing, like some sort of breakthrough idea that I'm known for, I guess. Like personality stuff would be cool.
Mm. Same. I also wanted to have that breakout idea.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's like I'm like, something might come of it, but it's I'm gonna have to put in a lot more work if I want to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. In general, though, I don't think that being famous is really that. To me, it's just not like. I think that I would rather be remembered for what kind of person I was than like what I did. I would rather be remembered for the effect I left on people and on the world. Like if I the saying of like people won't remember what you did, they'll remember how you made them feel, or it goes something like that. Like I feel like my life is a waste if I am a toxic influence, if I'm like upsetting the people around me and bringing them down and making them feel horrible, stressing them out.
I like I feel like I'm listening to the flip side because I'm just like
Yeah.
in the back of my head I'm like all the ones are just like yeah it gotta be the best, like they're all like that, and you're giving me the flip side where I'm like there are times where I have to deal with ones and I'm like is this how we are we, as you say, like not being a toxic influence. I'm like, is that sometimes our default state, like because it's very like I'm focused on doing this thing and I need everyone to get on board.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like but once you start to realize that it's like fake, you're like, okay, I can relax. But like it's personal experience that
Mm-hmm.
is very painful for me, like has been painful. So but it's just fun. It's very interesting to see that other people are just like, no. I'm like, oh, it's just in my head. Like this is what my brain is generating pain from. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I think I work the one actually, who looks exactly like Shan. And
Oh.
and I wondered like how her life is, like what goes through her mind, because honestly she does, like, not saying this about ones, but I think she's very, very unhealthy, and she makes everybody around her feel anxious and like she's judging them. And I've just wondered like like what how her brain works, like, because I feel like she's so similar and yet so different at the same time.
Well, I will say, like, what you were saying about growing up and like feeling like people are, well, how are you putting it? I feel I'm sure we're processing it differently, but like I feel the same way of like oh, people are judging me or something. But the thing is then when I'd actually like, it'd be mostly blast last, but when I actually got out in front of them, I'd be a cocky
Mm.
ass, right? Like everything out of my mouth would be that. And so for me, like I had to be breaking down my ego and going, okay, okay, it's not about, it is exactly like you said, it's not about what you do or what I specifically say, it's about how I make people feel. And so I'm like, I said my joke, my way I do the thing, and it's like, but I said it with the wrong vibe, and I could see the person sense that, I didn't get the same reaction.
Mm.
Um, but for me, it's been like, what it used to be like is I'd have to go out and I'd have to tell people my story like right away. Like, you need to know that I'm doing this big thing and blah blah blah. And I'm like, that's a really vibe killery. Like, so I've had to practice the art of just walking up, being friendly, just getting people to talk,
Mm-hmm.
getting others to talk for me, and see how that works out. And then you get into a flow. But yeah, it's the same thing, but it's with the ones, it's a chip on the shoulder, whereas it's I think it's too high expectations, and the ones have to lower their expectations to then start working with others, like in a healthy way, because we're like, you got to be doing the same thing as me. Like, I keep experiencing this, that people keep saying this to me as well, like, who are ones. So
Expectations of other people, like they need to be.
yeah, and Shan said that in her live stream where she was like very quick to cut people out, like, you need to be on the same path and blah blah blah. And yeah, it's like I've had those interactions with other ones as well. I've had those interactions where I've been the one doing that, where it's like the expectation, it's like you're programmed to think you're the king and you're not, like you haven't done the work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, for me as a blast last, I'm like, oh wow, like even now I'm talking about my type, I'm doing it right now. It's how do I give? It's like, oh, I don't know how to give. Like,
Hmm.
so all I can hope is that something on my path, I can figure out something that will then start giving and then feedback to make
Mm-hmm.
me happy. Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Sort of like a sleep and a blast sort of energy. Like you're not your blast last, but you're sharing, you're talking, you're control, maybe not controlling, but like.
No, I am controlling. I'm totally controlling. Like, people's feedback of me is like, Henry, you're too controlling. Like, I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh,
Hmm.
and even there are times where I'm like, how do I control the narrative? What are you talking about? And the person, like, and I go back and watch an interview, and I'm like I'm doing narrative control, right? Like, as I'm watching, I'm like, oh my god, that was me doing narrative control. Like, I am like weaving around stuff trying to control the story.
Interesting.
Oh, because I have some motive, and my motive was, for instance, with Dave, it was like, I'm gonna get to Dave and I'm gonna share him all my ideas that I had from the start of OP.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, that's interesting, but it's like, you're up here, we need to build from the ground up. You're
Mm-hmm.
up here, you're too far out.
Hmm.
And so it was like, oh god, I haven't done the work, I haven't done anything. And then it's like, all my ideas were shit. Not
Mm-hmm.
that they are, but like, that was the experience I had, was Dave it's like, haha cute, but some of it was like that's interesting. But yeah, that was the experience I had where I'm like, oh god, like and I had to break down my ego. Go, okay, you got to start from zero. You got to
Mhm.
drop everything and say this. You got nothing here. You got to start from zero. Um,
Mm.
but
Must be
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
must be nice to have that confidence. You're like assuming that you have things to offer and that you're, you know.
It's
No.
no, it's okay. That is this is what I love about OP is that and talking to people in the community in the discords and meeting like actually being on the class Discord server where they actually have official types.
Mhm.
And it was like I actually was like stopped being in I'm interacting with random people and assuming their type and then oh, this is what every blast laster who joins the chat does. This is what I do that people are calling me out. They're calling me out for being blast last. And what you get from the story, the point of what I was going to say is everyone's like, I wish I was you. I wish I was you. And like I go back to them. I'm like, I wish I was you. Like
Mhm.
everyone has that story of like when you actually know your type, you're like, uh
Yeah.
like I wish I had your function. They're like, I'm so jealous of you instead. I'm like, I wish I had ST. I could get all the work done. I'd be so good at the work. And they're like, I
Right.
wish I had an F.
It's like grass is greener too. Like,
You know, I was watching Alex Hermosi, and he was giving a presentation. He's like, this one lady high up. Her saying is, it's shit everywhere. You think it's shit here and grass is greener. It's once you get to the other side, it's shit there too. And I'm like,
yeah.
and I know it's true. I
Good
know
reminder.
it's true. There's no promised land for me.
Mhm.
It's gonna take the pain and the hurt and the doing things I don't want to do to become the person um, who can give something valuable to other people.
Mhm.
But it's like right now, I gotta accept. It's painful because what you said about the overconfidence. It's like every 2 weeks I get an idea and I get overconfident about it, and I'm glad I have people to go like, "Are you sure about that?" I'm like,
Mm.
"Okay, I'll throw it at some more people and see how I gauge their reactions." But it's bad. It is an overconfidence. Like it is blastery. It's annoying.
Mhm.
So, but for you, when you were talking, you kind of remind. I watched. Did you watch Holly's interview with David People recently?
No, I didn't
So she's intuitive you,
even. Yes,
and
I
yeah. What?
actually am friends with her.
Oh, you are friends with her? Yeah, and she got typed to 3.
Mhm.
But as you were telling your story earlier, I was like, this sounds a lot like the story Holly was telling of the withdrawnness,
Mhm.
loneliness. It sounds similar.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think yeah, comparing your story to hers and seeing if there's any particular differences between it would help you narrow in on the social type more.
Mhm. Which
So,
I've been trying to do actually.
you what?
Out with her actually. We've been talking like about this. Very,
Perfect.
yeah, it'd be good to watch.
Yeah.
To ask her for the link.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to ask you the next question, Amy. What would constitute the perfect day for you?
Um, and this could be either at work or not at work.
Mhm.
But if it's not at work, um, it would be perfect weather. Can do whatever I want, whenever I want. Um, let's see, not having to do any work. Um, seeing something new. Um, good food, feeling good, like physically. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Just general good vibes.
Yeah.
I mean, the funny thing is mine is like this delusional opposite where I'm like, I was thinking about it. I was like, I, I finished my project. It's revealed to the world. I get the recognition. And I'm like,
Interesting.
Stop. Because it's like for me, it's like I can't even. It's hard for me to even plan a trip without an ulterior motive. It's like I gotta have some. It has to be plugging into like the vision. The
Right.
vision. It's so bizarre. Like, and it's like I love food. I have my favorite foods and all this stuff. And I'm just like, you know, it just
Happy.
it doesn't matter, to
Mm,
me,
yeah.
right?
But like I'm good at enjoying the little things. Struggle
I
with
should,
that.
I should be jealous of you, but uh,
No point.
but what?
But there's no point because it's
There's no
not.
point. I just gotta accept my lot. I just
Yeah.
like just everything's good and no drama, no drama,
Yep.
no drama. Like where would is there anywhere you'd like to visit? Like where would you like to visit?
I'd love to travel like around the world. I would love to be anywhere like Europe, Italy. I'd love to see Italy. I think it'd be really cool if we were not being realistic. Like if
Hmm.
I could fly around the world and just like see all the countries that I really wanted to see. That'd be awesome.
What are so you gosh, I almost want to ask what it was like growing up in Bangladesh. How different was that from here? And does that make that mundane and then other stuff interesting, or was it always stranger in a strange land?
Um, I'm not a fan of. It was a third world country. Um, very very poor, very hot. Um, generally, often smelled bad. So I think that I appreciate my country, even though I did get to like see a lot of things, and I think that's what makes me want to explore.
Hmm.
I really appreciate um, not having not having not feeling like a weirdo, like having the freedom of like people are not like I can go wherever I want to go and I'm safe and nobody's gonna stare at me or try and kidnap me. Um, that it's like wide open. There's not a lot of people around. It's just like it's beautiful. I mean, it wasn't all bad growing up
Hmm.
in English, but it was like I I was happy to go, honestly. Um, because I wasn't I don't know, I was such a miserable kid. It was really sad.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, Canada to me was like my escape of this is much better. This is like my new life.
What kind of question for you? So, like, when you do go on vacations, are you the one who wants to stay, like, go on adventures, or are you the one who's like, I want to stay at the nice hotel, I want to lounge on the beach? Is it that? Is it the more security or adventure? Because I see that between my parents. My dad wants to climb mountains. He's like, literal, we're climbing the mountain. Everyone, we're going. And my mom is just like, not doesn't go, and then goes, I'm worried about you the entire time. Anxiety, and like, I just want my air conditioning. So like, are you one of those, or are you somewhere in between? Like,
Um, I think I need a mix of both. I think that I
mhm.
would get bored if I was only doing the hotel, but I wouldn't want to only be doing new things either. Like I can't give you a clear. I think I really want to be comfortable. I don't like being uncomfortable, but I definitely get bored of the same thing all the time. Sorry if I'm not really answering your question, but
Well, what is one of your favorite vacations you've been on?
I haven't been on a vacation actually in a long time. but I'm just I'm just trying to remember when I did. Um, I mean, I'm more of a like just follower anyway, so I just kind of like do what other people want. So I think the last one that I was on was to the mountains, and it was for just a few days. Um, I really enjoyed like being on my own and running through the mountains, but otherwise, like, and like I enjoyed seeing it was Banff, so I got to see the town, um, and I really enjoyed that. But I'm not like I wouldn't want to do things that were scary for me at the same time. I do
Yeah.
not enjoy being scared.
Okay.
I will do it, but I'd rather not.
Would you okay, would you do it if like the whole tribe was like, yeah? Is that it? Where the whole tribe got together, like, we're gonna climb this mountain and it's super steep and you could fall off, but we're gonna do it. Or would you be like, I don't think so.
Um, I think I'd probably feel better if other people were doing it. It would depend. It would depend on different things. Like, okay, my family went to uh, an amusement park a few days, like maybe a week ago, and they wanted to go on every single of the scariest rides. And I didn't know, I wasn't sure how I'd feel about the roller coasters, but I on like every single ride that they wanted to go on, and I had like I hated it, honestly. But it was really just at the end that I was like, I'm not doing. I'm not going on that last one because I've already been on all these other ones, and I can't take any. So I am a like go with the flow, but I'll hit a point where I'm just like no more. So
No
that's
more, no
that's
more.
probably my play versus my sleep.
Okay. Okay, I think I'm ready to ask the next question. So, Amy, for what in life do you feel most grateful?
I'm always really grateful when um, everybody in my life is happy and good, and I'm happy and good, and there isn't drama like we've already talked about. Um, where like where things are good, like things aren't people aren't struggling, everyone's getting along. Um, everyone's just mentally and emotionally and physically healthy. I that's really I really really value that a lot because I find that when I'm worrying about um, or experiencing drama or just worrying about people, that's when I can't be happy. I don't know how other people would be happy. It's like I can't relax. That's the biggest stress in my life is like people for sure, which very much speaks to my decider, DE, I think. And I'm also really grateful for health, physical health, because I feel like that is the baseline. And if you don't have that, then you can't enjoy your life and you can't do a lot of things. So I feel like, um, yeah, just it impedes a lot. I work at a long-term care home, so all extremely old. So I think that I'm like face to face with that every day.
It's like you're face to face with death.
Yeah. And like they're still most of them are still pretty happy and I think that's amazing. But me, anytime that I have some sort of physical issue, then I really struggle. It's hard. Or they've gone through so much loss and they're still pretty happy, but I'm really thankful that I'm not too far into my life yet, and I still glad that I can. I know it sounds kind of. I'm just glad that nobody super old is listening.
You never know. You never know. Well, yeah, you're right. Super old people are not into OP. But I wonder if the happier people live longer.
I
Or if they've gone through the breaking down process because what were you gonna say?
I do think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
and go ahead.
6 and they're still living and I'm amazed. 106.
106. Whoa. Oh, that's old.
But
That's old.
no, like I've been trying to figure out why do those people live longer and others not, and I don't know. Unless I really dug into their past, it's hard to know. But there was one really sweet little lady that was like 100 so. And she just, it was definitely because she was sweet, I think.
um for your health, are there any things that you do to or anything you do to maintain your health specifically? Your routines
Yeah, everything.
or what everything you do?
I do everything. Well, I sleep well, I exercise, I try and maintain my stress level. I try and like just take care of my whole self, not just my physical self, but like I think it all plays into it.
Okay. So do you go for what? Go to a gym, work out? Did you have to figure out how to work out from home? Like what is your routine? How much do you work out?
Um, I run almost every, but I
Every
don't
day?
have much time as I have actually. I don't have a lot of time,
Mm-hmm.
so it really depends on how organized I am, which can change with the day. It's generally like I don't know, maybe half an hour a day, and then on days off it might go longer. And then my job is very physical, like heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And I'll do like some other strength training, but not really.
Gotcha. Okay. I think I'm ready to ask the next question. Amy, what is the greatest accomplishment of your life? What do you consider the greatest accomplishment?
I haven't accomplished really anything.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. You have a family.
Mm-hmm.
You have people you love. I think that's an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. Um, I mean, one thing I think of as an accomplishment is just that I feel like everybody likes me at my job. I feel like my boss likes me. I feel like I'm a I'm respected. I'm appreciated. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not I'm not an annoyance or a stress to other people. And same with my family. They seem happy with me. Like I feel like that's an accomplishment because there's lots of people that will go through their lives and everyone's bad talking them. They're like even though they're I don't know, even though they might be doing the same things as me, it's like they're not doing it well, is what it feels like.
Mm,
And I'm also proud of my self growth. I'm proud of how I've like worked through some of my past issues, how I'm continuing to work on. I'm not just accepting that this is just how I am and
yeah.
have to deal with it. I think that I can grow and own my mistakes and keep working on stuff and I think that's an accomplishment.
No, I think when you come down to it, that is almost the only accomplishment is okay, I can handle it. Like I can handle this. But that is a thought that goes through my head, like you said, where you said, like everyone around likes me, and I'm just like, God, do I want to do all this stuff? And then at the end of it, end up with surrounded by people who hate me anyway. Like what would be the point of doing it all if I still if Everyone around me is miserable, and I'm miserable, and I make them miserable, and they make me miserable. And it makes me kind of sad when like I'll hear these stories of us like, yeah, I have, you know, I don't, my family's bad, and there's nothing I can do about it. And and I can't get out. I'm like, oh, like I wish there was something I could do often.
Mhm.
Oh god, that was that was actually a long, deep down motivation for a long time, just because I saw the pain and hurt caused by that. I was just like, what can you do? You can't do anything about that. You're just a guy. And you're like,
Mm.
I want to change all. I want everyone to have a good family. Like that's my goal. It's like, where are you going with this? Why are you doing this? Like that does not compute.
Mm.
But I think it is absolutely an admirable thing when you see people who don't end up in that spot. And maybe there are always things that we aren't looking at, and that a problem is always coming. But um,
Mhm.
that's what the growth mindset stuff is for, so that you can be the
Mhm.
person who can take
Right.
that up. Yeah, exactly that. Okay. Next question. What do you value the most in friendship?
Um, well, friendship to me is like it's having somebody with you to support you. Um, you're doing life together, so you're not when you have when you struggle with stuff, you have somebody to go to talk it through and um, help you through it, um, as well as to do the same for them.
Hmm.
And I think it for me personally, I find that being able to talk through stuff in general is really helpful. It's like because I struggle with doing sleep. Um, to me, it helps me with my sleep processing. It helps me to process stuff because I'm talking it out and it's getting me thinking, and um, I'm able to process it. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that friendship is where like real friendship is when we're honest, like truly ourselves with somebody. Because if you're not honest with somebody, then you can't really be close to them. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. That. Do you ever have trouble uh not being honest with people as a friend, or not being your true self? I mean, that is a D, I think, but
Um, I would say that I don't share everything with um it depends on the person whether or not I'll be like truly open with them, but I'll never give a false impression. Um, it's more like I might not if I won't share. Yeah, it depends on how close we are, how much I'm going to share. It is easier, I would say, to share more openly over if it's not somebody like say coworker. Okay. Like
you're
with
talking about coworkers.
well, I find if I see a lot of issues with somebody, like a lot of just a lack of self-awareness, or
Hmm.
they're blaming people or being judgmental or just victim mindset or very small minded with how they think about things, and I don't feel comfortable sharing with them.
Mm.
It's not that I don't, not it's not that I think that they'll share my personal things with other people, but I just don't. I feel like someone has to meet my level of maturity in order for me to feel safe. Like I can't. If somebody's not going to accept me fully and um, and like really take me in, not project onto me, I think, and
Oh,
that's like
projection is a huge issue, and we all do it. It's very.
mm,
Okay. Have you had issues with projection, or do you feel
Yeah,
like you? Okay.
I used to project that other people were perfect, um,
Mm,
and I thought that I was the only one with issues, um, and that was broken. That like that assumption, that like way of seeing things was broken as people kept letting me down. Eventually, it was like it just kind of like broke that worldview.
mm, mm,
Um, Otherwise, let's see, how would I project? If they've betrayed me in the past, then I might project that they are not safe, probably.
mm,
Or or if I've just gotten the impression, like I said before, like if they're gossiping about other people, then I'm not going to trust them fully because they're not being fair. I feel like gossip is making a lot of assumptions about somebody. Um, yeah, it's not, and I also just think they're not owning their own stuff. If they're focused
mm.
on what else is doing, then it's just like a distraction. So,
I
and
think
not
that's
be
I
like,
think that's true. Yeah, I think that's true. It does seem to be that gossip, and I know Dave and Shannon. I was watching one of their old videos, and they were saying like it does seem to be a part of humanity. And there's also been like scientific studies on it where it's like it's a social lubricant. It's like everyone kind of does it a little bit, but when you're all gossip, all up in people's business all the time, and everything's drama, it can be bad. Um,
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, and I just think that like we have enough to deal with on our own. I have enough stuff that I need to work on my own.
I don't need you to pile this on me.
Doing is it's a waste of time. Like
Hmm.
I can only change me. So
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think we're ready for the next question. Amy, what, if anything, is too serious to be joked about?
I'm trying to remember what it was now. I mean, I'm not easily offended, but other people are.
Yeah.
So they
So that comes back to you, and then kind of.
yeah, like so I don't want anyone to feel put down or degraded or disrespected or judged or assumptions made of people through a joke or them feeling like that joke is disrespecting somebody else. So I think that there's a time and place for certain jokes and there's also an attitude behind them. I think that if you are sort of um if you are bigoted, is that the right word, where you like
Mhm.
have a lot of projections, assumptions about people and like put them all in these little boxes and then you're um, I feel like that kind of person is inevitably going to make those kinds of jokes. but but for me personally, like I just try and think about, I think you should think about how it's going to make someone feel. And then and I find that I laugh a lot when I shouldn't at things. Even that is like a you're kind of
Feminine feelings. Feminine feelings.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I try as hard as I can to not let other people see that I'm laughing. But at the same time, like you can't. Sometimes it's avoidable. It's just like, oh, yeah,
Yeah, I found historically I've gotten offended by, how do I put it? Not offended, but annoyed by lazy jokes, and that's what I sometimes feel like the bigoted jokes are. Almost always that it's a. I mean, there've been I've heard some funny evil jokes in my time, but like, oh my god, I'm just being an EP. But I like that it's so lazy. It's the same thing, and it's you.
Hmm.
What bugs me for the person who's someone's being bigoted against is like I'm just like they got to hear this everywhere they go from an asshole like you, and it's the same. I know, no, but I'm like, just at least say something original and shocking or something if you're gonna say something that just throws them off guard. You
Hmm.
know, like go 2 layers down. I don't know.
Yeah,
So that's kind of what's happening with me. I'm like, you got to be a bit clever, but that's of course just my type talking.
agreed.
Um, and also like lighthearted things, and there are times where a joke can really hurt someone, but there are other times where it's like, yeah, I probably needed to hear that, like yeah. So there's a time and a place.
Yeah.
And there also are people who are going to get offended at a joke that is actually like the right joke to make.
Hmm.
They weren't ready to hear it, and you have to like that's kind of the lesson of the blasters is you have to do stuff you're not ready for, you're not prepared for. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. Not everyone will be happy with you.
yeah, exactly.
Upset someone.
Okay, last question. How, Amy, do you cope with the fact that you will one day die?
Well, I stare at it every day, as you
So
know.
that helps.
But I also don't really think about it. It's kind of like so normal to me. I think the main thing is I just don't. I try and appreciate as much as I can what I have now because
Mhm.
I don't want to get to the end of my life and be like, what was I doing? I was wasting my time. I wasn't appreciating it. I didn't know what I had till it was gone. I don't want to be like that. But it can be really hard. But I try as much as I can to be grateful and just focus on the good. Um, so I think it's a waste of a life to just be whining all the time. Um, let's see. Um, and I just hope that my death is not too painful. But really, like I have no control over. What's the point of worrying about it? Um, I don't know, and it makes me sad when I think about like I think that death is really sad, but it's just a part of life. And I do hope that there is such a thing as reincarnation or some sort of like where
I I actually find it super interesting that you bring that up. Or I am interested in the subject because I feel like OP is a type of reincarnation that you're like, oh, you think the same way and you're dealing with my same problems, and then but there are layers to it where it's like even me as a DI, I'm like, oh, that DE feeling you have, oh, I feel that sometimes too, guys. Like, oh, I feel that way too. I feel not good enough, and I feel like everyone's better than me. And oh, it's like we're all the same. We all have the same needs. It's like
Mhm.
so then we're all one. But I think yeah, I think that I don't view it in a one soul pops in the next person. I'm like, oh, you're a pattern. You just repeat. You just kind of flower out of the earth, and this type of flower pops up over here, and this type of flower pops up over here, and it just keeps popping up, and I can tear them out, but they'll just keep popping up, like, which gives your pattern a resilience. Like, I think there's solace in that. I actually do think there's solace in that.
Mhm.
You know, um, so I think for me, I was like that's how I want to frame it. Like we are all one, and then there's layers of okay, your individualized ego. There's another guy like you out there, or another guy like you out there, and um, maybe you're not going to get everything right this time. Maybe you can lay down the bricks for the next guy who comes through and be like, "Hey, man." It's like a message back to yourself in the past,
Mhm.
right?
That'd be
It's a message to a younger you. You could actually go do that, right?
so.
What?
I hope so.
Well, I think that's what all this means. Actually, is that that's what the state of it is. Oh, like it doesn't need to be a soul. Well, not saying that there aren't souls, but it doesn't need to be an individual. It's like it's all one. I know I'm being a crazy intuitive here. I know I'm being a crazy NF.
But like, how is ops reincarnation? Like you're saying, like getting your type is like someone telling you what not to.
So I mean, like, what would be your soul? What would be your who you are? Like, is it your pattern? Like, I think you are actually. The more I look at people, I'm like, oh, you are more what you do in your actions, but your pattern, your hardware. It's like, like I'm not alone. And there was a me 500 years in the past who, and there'll be a me 500 years in the future. Now maybe I don't get to experience that exactly like as is, but that's just kind of how I view it is. But I still go through, like, I'll say this stuff and then my ego turns back on. It will turn back on later and I'll just be a crazy fucking nut. I have to. But I think there is a solace in it. I think it's like, hey, look, we found someone who talks like you, walks like you, looks like you, and they're dealing with the same problems as you. And, it's like, I'm like, how's that? Like, I am very intuitive of just like, have you ever seen the story on The Egg? Here, I can put it in the chat. And it is about reincarnation. So there's an animation called The Egg. And I just think it's a decent way of framing it. The Egg. A short story here. I will put it in the chat. But yeah, The Egg, and it's about like a guy dies, goes to the afterlife, and meets his creator, and he's like he's as the story goes on, he's asking God questions, and God goes, "Oh, you're being sent back." And he's like, "When?" He's like, "Oh, you're gonna be a Chinese girl working in the rice paddies in the 1500s." He's like, "What? You're sending me back in time?" He's like, "Yeah, time isn't linear. What do you think?" He's like, "Wait, does this mean I've met myself?" He's like, "Happens all the time." And he's like, "Yeah, it happens all the time." And he's like, "You're everyone. There's only just you and me. It's just one soul bouncing from person to person."
Interesting.
I'm like, oh, I mean, I don't think that's an NF that wouldn't work. I think that could work, and so yeah, that's how I view it. If that's that's how my crazy NF brain views it. I'm like,
Interesting.
And the aliens seem to think it too, that we're all one. So are you subscribed to do you watch the objective personality videos weekly?
I watch the typing when they type somebody, but I don't always watch the other ones.
Okay. Yeah, they did one on aliens, and they were like, it is very interesting that they broke down all the people at the meeting, the government meeting, and they were like, this guy, these are deciders. These aren't freaking out bullshitters like Dave. Like, these are double, like, oh, I trust that guy. Like, how he talks is state change. They're like, we don't know anything about anything, but we know about reading people. And these people seem to be like, but who knows? They're just banking on that. I don't know, but they said there's a bunch of patterns with the aliens. So
okay,
nonlinear time. You can go back and watch it if you.
Yeah, I will.
But, like that they will jump around time and dimensions and multi-dimensions. And we actually had I had a cool conversation with people in the community where we were talking about we were debating if aliens would be good or bad. And I used to be like, oh, it's bad because my ego, because I want humans to be the first to space. And then I had to drop that worldview and go, okay, there's aliens and there's multi-dimensions. What would that mean? Okay, it'd mean there's infinite abundance, which would mean, what would an alien want from us? That we're just a zoo, you know? Because there's just like, but I'm sorry if I'm getting too intuitive on you.
That's
But
okay. I hear your echo.
oh, you hear my echo?
Your NE.
Oh yeah, yeah, my any. Yeah, I know. I'm getting into my any. Where's the resistance, Henry? What do you mean? What do you mean, Griff? Griff in the chat. Griff, what's that supposed to mean? Resistance to what? But but oh, the resistance to the aliens. Yeah, if you actually think about it, like the only thing that would be a okay, I'm trying to catch myself, but if you know about quantum multiverse theory, it would be I believe every time there's a quantum flip inside an atom, the theory is new universe, which is nuts. Like that's nuts, right? Which means there's just an infinitude of universes, which means if aliens can hop between universes, it's just there's infinite resources. Like the only thing you'd be afraid of with aliens is if they had their back against the wall, running from another alien species or something. But if they can jump between dimensions, I'm like, that's just infinite planets. Like it's infinite. You could
Breaking your brain.
what?
It's breaking your brain.
Well, it's not breaking my brain. I'm like, that makes sense. Like for me. But I used to slam on the other enemies. I'm like, they're just making a multiverse theory. They're just projecting, and it might turn out that it's it's actually okay. Okay, Griff's giving me advice. Oh, I'm embarrassed. I'm rambling at the end. Amy, what made you feel good enough this week?
What made me feel good about this week?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, wait, I read it wrong. I'm dyslexic. What
oh,
made you feel not good enough this week?
oh, good question. Oh, I gotta think though.
Oh, who? God, I'm so dyslexic. I'm so bad. Who? Griff, that's a bit too decidery. Come on.
Who made you? Is that
Yeah, he said who. Who made you feel not good enough this week? It's like,
well, there was a girl actually at the girl that I was referring to before.
oh yeah,
Anne's
kind of
lookalike.
type one, likely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but she was mad at me for like 2 weeks decider. But I didn't understand why, and then I finally did grasp it, and that helped me be okay with it. But still, it's like every time I walked in, is she gonna be mad at me again? Is she gonna like make me feel bad about myself just by not looking at me and not talking to me?
Was she a manager or
Just another cook. She's like
just another cook?
morning cook, but she's got this like confidence about her, which is why I think she's a one. Maybe not. It could be something else. Could be,
No, yeah, I think you might be right. I think you might be right.
I don't know. She just feels like powerful. She feels like and she makes you feel um like anxious attachment because you never know what to expect from her. Is she gonna be she gonna be standoffish? Like you just never know.
Yeah.
Friends last.
Friends lost. Friends lost. Oh, what? So, can I ask you specifics? What did you discover she was angry at you about, or did you just have to?
Yeah. I decided if she's got responsibility at the top, then she probably felt like there was last weekend or 2 weekends ago, we didn't have anybody to cover the weekend. So it was either her or me that was going to do it or had to do it. And I could only work one day, but I think that my manager made it sound like I only wanted to work one day. And she was like, well, I might as well just work both days. So then she carried it with her for like a whole week. She was mad that she had to work the weekend. and that I didn't like. I feel like she must have felt responsible, like she had to cover it, had
Mm,
to do it all because it ruined her weekend just having to work one day. So
yeah.
I don't-
Yeah, that tends to make people mad, fighting over how much we're working.
yeah.
It's my free time, you know. Okay. Well, Amy, I don't know, we have 3 people viewing, and I was wondering if anyone has their guesses for Amy's type. Amy would really appreciate your input if you've been watching for a bit. Um, I don't think I'm wrong to assume that we're a bit more narrowed into specialize, for sure. And you might be wondering between 3 and 4. Um, but yeah, if anyone's watching, comments on the video. Um, oh, Kim chimed in. But yeah, feel free to put in your opinions. And yeah, but Kim, if you want to wrap up, we can end the stream now, or we can keep chatting. Can you see the chat, Amy?
No.
You can't?
Oh, actually, there's a
It's on
little.
the side. Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. So I bet basically, no one's throwing out their opinions, but right now, but we can see how many views we get on this, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's been my guess too. Is like, am I 3 or a 4? I can't decide. I don't know. But I assumed 4 personally.
Yeah, I feel I got that kind of vibe. I do. How do I put it? Here is what I kind of get from, like, I can actually bond with 3s over their flexy complaininess,
Mhm.
right? There are times where I attach to 4s and go like, "Oh, you're the sweetest person ever, and you're just a good person, and you don't want bad vibes, and I feel this around you." But there's a buddy thing with 3s sometimes where it's just like, yeah, let's I'll just listen to you complain. Now they'll be complaining about so and so did this, and my boss doesn't know, and usually in
Right.
the back of my head I'm always like, what?
And I don't do that. Like, I get frustrated over people complaining about each other and the bosses. And
Yeah, it doesn't bother me, but I also really see the boss's perspective, and I'm kind of
yeah,
like, so kind of just like, I don't, it kind of rolls off me, and I'm like, yeah, go ahead, complain. But then I'll turn around and be like, well, do you see how the machine works? Like, this is why the boss has incentives. And if you don't have him doing that, the thing will fall apart. Like that, this is just how it works. Like, it, always the thing in the back of my head when people are complaining is, you know, what work have you done? What work have you done to solve this problem? Like,
yeah.
if you're complaining about something like markets and money, it's like, okay, markets and money, do you have a better system? Like, I won't even consider it because I'm like, well, it works. Like, yes, there are flaws, but it works.
Hmm.
So it's just like, I'm just like, yeah, go ahead, tell me your ideas. Um, but yeah, I would that would be my guess, would be 4. Is I do actually get kind of caught up with the 3s and their complaininess, and I actually find it kind of fun.
Mm.
So, whereas you just seem to be a lot more friendly, positive, and some of the negatives about in your life, not that it's like too much of a negative, but it's just the flip side. The weakness is just leaf. And also what might be is your husband might be a 3 and you might be a 4, and then you found yourself taking up that responsibility third
Hmm.
and going like, like, I'm taking it up, but I don't want to. I really just want the connection and all this stuff, and
Right.
that um
Yeah.
which then relates to the problem of the 3s. The problem with the 3s is totally I said this in my Habib interview. I was like, the 3s, it's like they need to find a niche that, like, and if they aren't growth mindset, yet. You know, we all start out fixed mindset in so many areas. Have you read the growth mindset book or parts of it?
Mm-mm.
As you read it, you start to go like, God, I'm fixed mindset here. I'm fixed mindset here. I'm fixed mindset here. It's like,
Like
you
to
have, yeah.
called. Well, you just said what it's called, right?
I think it's literally called growth mindset.
Okay.
The growth mindset. But yeah, it's the threes. It's kind of like a luck thing, whereas the one's like I have to drive and make it happen. Whereas the three, it's kind of, but everything's luck. I'm just rambling. Okay, I think that is kind of where we're at right now. I think we're gonna close the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks everyone who joined, and hope you have a nice day. Bye everyone.
Bye, buddy.